So Eden was a successful election. We had 82 opting in participants. One thing that's fun about these elections is the Eden UI. So it's genesis.eoscommunity.org. But during the election, you can actually see how people are voting live. So when you're done, or if you're just a spectator, you can watch and see the votes move back and forth. And in fact, I don't know if anyone caught it, but today at 1400 UTC, or maybe it was 1600 UTC, there was a video that came up from Bywire on their YouTube. And it was basically like a top clips of some of the past elections, starting with the very beginning Genesis meeting with Dan. And then it showed the most recent one. And you can see some of the really good clips from, I think, 2 elections ago, where Eve is doing a real great job on the play-by-play, going through, oh, look, they changed their vote and this has never happened and everyone's voting for themselves. And so it's like a typical, like a sports event almost, which sounds so silly to say when you're talking about politics or elections, but it's actually pretty neat. And especially with the people involved, like a lot of the Eden folks are active community members. So a lot of us, we know who they are, and you maybe have your favorites. So you're doing some rooting in the background. So that was really cool. Yeah, the election itself, great success. We had every room came to consensus. There was no stalled rooms, a couple close calls where it looked like we might have saw a stall. When you're in these elections and you're randomized into your rooms, you need to get a supermajority, which is a 2/3 plus 1 of those who are voting. And if you don't, no one moves forward. So none of this guaranteed someone moves on from a round. If you don't have a sufficiently skilled consensus builder in a room, then no one goes ahead. So it's a really neat dynamic where this process does select for consensus builders. That's one of the key, regardless of what you're solving for at the end. In this case, it's to become a delegate and receive a part of the community funding. It really does select for people who can achieve consensus. And I think that's really unique and awesome about this democratic tool, where if you consider applying that to the world at large, if all of our leaders were selected in a means that identified consensus builders, and those were the leaders of the planet, you can imagine how potentially more peaceful it would be, because these leaders would have tried to get consensus versus chucking bombs. Yes, election, 82 participants. We had 20 make it to the first round. And then from then, we have 5 that became chief delegates. So we got 5 chief delegates, 15 level 1 delegates. The level 1 delegates have all received 493 EOS in their first month's distribution. And chief delegates receive 2,220 EOS in their first month's distribution. And what that is, it's 15% of the total Eden treasury is drawn and then distributed to the delegates, both level 1 and chief delegates. And so as a treasury is drawn down, then of course that number will reduce, right? 15% of less tokens available. And that happens monthly, and it will take place for the next 3 months. And in 12 weeks, we will have yet another election in the first week of January. So certainly anyone who's like listening to this and think, oh, it sounds neat. These happen pretty regularly. So there's lots of opportunity to still participate. Chief delegates, we've got myself, Chris Waxa from the Helios team, marketing background, Jesse Jaffe from the EOS Bees, another marketing background. So I think that's really cool to have 2 really solid creative marketers as part of Eden now to help grow Eden, which the byproduct of growing Eden is, of course, it grows the EOS user base, because you need an EOS account to participate in Eden. So there's a direct one-on-one relationship where it benefits the network. We've also got Reiki Cordon, he's a brilliant dude, tons of experience with DAOs from the Seeds community, then Haifa DAO, and Regenerative Renaissance and Regen Civics. So he, I think, is going to bring a ton of brain power and just organization and just that really almost 4 years now experience in working in DAOs at the cutting edge, especially with the Haifa team early on. And then we've got Javier from the Edenia team, or EOS Costa Rica, a developer. So we're keeping that streak alive of having a developer always present as one of the chief delegates. And then myself, and I think I just like to talk. So that's what I bring to the table. And we've got a good skill set, broad, diverse set of chief delegates. I think we'll be able to achieve a lot this term, one of which will be to ratify the new bylaws. And one of the neat things about Eden and this process is that leaders, once they're in power, they can't just change the rules to maintain their ability to remain in power. So if we as leaders now could change the rules so that we have an advantage for the next election, that's called incumbent advantage. And that's how a lot of modern democracies and politics work, where gerrymandering, shuffling of the electoral districts, and changing the rules to benefit themselves. In Eden, you can't do that. The previous chief delegates proposed rule changes to the bylaws, and an election needs to take place. And now the current chief delegates have an opportunity to ratify those bylaws, and they don't have to. So we can just, no, those rules suck. It's going to benefit one group or another. We just don't like them. They don't get ratified. And so be it, which is a really cool, unique part of the process. So that's it in general. There was a full live stream also of the entire event. So if you want to see the play-by-play, it's a long video, maybe 2x at times. You want to watch that. But that's also on the Bywire YouTube channel, where Michael did a great job of being the master of ceremonies. And so, yeah, that full election is there, all the rounds, discussions in between. It's probably 4 or 5 hours, I think. So encourage folks, if you're really curious, give that a watch. And yeah, that's a brief update of how it went.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. From my vantage point, I thought that this was the best election yet. It went so smoothly. Props to the Adenia team and everybody that made that possible. And yeah, it was just a pretty seamless event. I don't think we could have ended up with a better selection of chief delegates. I'm really stoked about everybody there. Such a great combination of skill sets. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what can get done over the next 3 months and what kind of trajectory that this new crew of chief delegates can put Eden on. But overall, I don't think I've ever been more optimistic about Eden becoming self-sufficient and capable of managing its own infrastructure and expanding its service to the EOS community. Yeah, I felt very optimistic afterwards, I got to say.